What's going on, Bobby?
Hey, what is up?
We didn't run our cool open because I was too slow on the trigger.
Just run it now.
Run it now. People like it. You
Yeah,
guys,
we need
does
it.
it? Yeah, does it get you guys in the mood? All right, we'll get you guys in the mood.
Can you say hard hats, folks? Hard hats, lunch pails, steel toe boots.
Anything short of a championship this year is a failure.
Look at this boomer right here.
You've just got so much talent here.
Somebody said we need to apologize for Jaylen.
Can I pull the John? What are we apologizing for? What did we say? What did we do?
Okay, now we can start the show,
Yeah.
Bobby. Now we can start.
Yes, we can.
Now we can start.
And what a show it's gonna be.
Yeah, it looks like it's the Bobby and the Boomer show. And we've got no Toscano and Josue. You know, it's Saturday, right? It's Saturday.
Snowy Saturday, but
we'll let him skate. Bobby, I'm going solo on you 1 second. I'll be right back. I'm still here.
Well, interesting game tonight, John.
I'm back. I'm back. I just need a little bit more light.
Interesting game tonight. The Pacers.
I can't get a read on it. Great to beat the Pacers. Great to win on the road. Great to win without Porzingis. Great to win. And yes, Kyle, I did hate this, but I'm not going to get into it now because he did a lot of other things well. But I don't want to get. We'll get to that in a little bit. But look at all of the factors, right? You miss a ton of free throws. White and Tatum both get in foul trouble. White's got to come out early in the third on, a ticky-tack foul. Porzingis misses almost the entire game after getting poked in the eye. This could have gone sideways. By Neesmith. Yeah, but
it had to be Neesmith.
Aaron, Bernie, Pollard, Neesmith. But yes.
He really is. Yeah, so that's a little worrisome coming out of this one. But otherwise, yeah. I'm pretty impressed by the way the Celtics handled this one. You mentioned the Porzingis injury. I thought Derek White was pretty bad in this game. And
a really rough game.
That's threw the offense into a tailspin for parts of this game, I thought. And when the Celtics started struggling offensively, particularly at the end of the second, going into halftime, their 16-point lead got down to about 4 and ended up being a tit for tat the rest of the way up until that late burst. So the Celtics struggled to control the ball in parts of this game. That's probably your biggest frustration here, the 18 turnovers. But the half court, yes, and that continues to be a way that the Pacers skate by the Celtics for stretches, is that the Celtics aren't able to, as we debated, John, slow the game down a little bit and get to the free throw line. They executed, though, in a lot of different isolation plays in this game, though, and I know you'll have some frustrations with that, but when you have mismatches, you have to take advantage of them, and they made
tonight it worked.
Yeah,
there's
a good matchup for it.
There was two things that I liked. There's two things about the ISOs I liked. It was Tatum and Brown were pretty democratic about who was going to get, who had the matchup, and they would seek it out, and that was clearly the game plan, and they did it all night long. Again, I'm just going to say, fool's gold on the Tatum step back threes. It's not an opinion. It's simply how it is. Great that they go in, great when they go in, but we get into this. Oh, when he hits these, he's the most unstoppable player. Again, the problem is he's just not hitting them consistently enough to make it his thing. If he goes in that pre-bubble run that he's on, when he's hitting every one of those shots and he's going, he's dropping 40 a night and he's this unstoppable force, we can have a different conversation. But we're going on 2 years where that hasn't been a successful thing for him. I like it when he's going. I think he had the matchup going where he could get to his spots and he could get to the basket and he could get to the free throw line if he wanted to pretty easily. So again, I don't love those, but they went in and we're all going to celebrate the Tatum was unstoppable, with his step back, in your face threes game. And it is what it is.
Yeah. I do wonder if he's
not my favorite. Not my favorite.
I do wonder if he's tinkering with something there though, because we have seen a stretch here where he is hitting threes at probably the highest rate we've seen all season between the Clippers game. There was another one recently. I can't remember off the top of my head. And then, of course, tonight. So they mentioned Drew Hanlon was in the building. I wonder if they had a session this morning, worked through some things and got him in a good place mechanically. I do think he looks pretty good with the shot right now, just in terms of how tight and fluid it looks. So I wouldn't be stunned if there was a little bit of tinkering there with that to get him going recently. But I thought he did both in this game, John. There were stretches where he got downhill. There was a really good stretch of mid-range play from him. I think midway through the second, got a couple shots off overheeled, then, twisted his way into a shot in the lane off the glass on 3 straight plays there at one point. 6 assists. That stat seems to be bumping up more and more for him recently as well. So I've been pretty satisfied with Tatum, and I thought he and Brown played pretty well in tandem in this game. If it wasn't going to be them, who was it tonight? I mean, it's another game where Holiday, I thought, wasn't super involved in the offense, even given White's
No, it had to be those
absence.
guys because
And
White
then, off
was
the bench, you're not getting much scoring there. So
it had
this
to
was
be
a
those
Tatum and
guys.
Brown show, and they carried their weight.
And that's the thing is, there almost was no other way. It wasn't working anywhere else. Like you saw, White was out of sync all night. I felt like, right? Like you could see a lot of times he went to the lane and he's like, that's not what I wanted to do. Whether he shorted a pull up or he tried to force a pass, there was a lot of times you just see him and you could tell he was like, that wasn't the play. He knew it almost every time, but he just something wasn't working for him tonight. And you had the foul trouble. So White was off. You're right. Holiday, inconsistent again, some problems finishing around the rim for him. And it had to be Tatum and Brown all night long. And they ate their guys alive all night long. I mean, they took advantage of their matchups.
And you're capable of doing that.
And then
here.
you're going to talk about O'Shea. I'm going to talk about Luke. There's a lot of other factors that
good
matter
stuff from those guys.
This felt like a game. It could have gone either way. Again, I didn't love the way. I mean, I didn't love that, the back-to-back, second quarter, not bad. Third quarter, we certainly started to get away from it. And it was that frustrating thing. They were missing the free throws. They were relying a little bit too much on the ISO. They were relying on jumpers. They weren't getting to the free throw line when they were missing. And it was like, this could go bad. And again, we talk about like games they win that they might have lost in years past. You can file this one as another one too, which is, it kind of felt like you could have put this Pacers team away earlier and then they didn't. And you let them hang around and all of a sudden it's a 1-point game, 1-possession game. And they held them off. They put their foot on the gas, a couple really big moments, key plays from Brissett down the stretch. Luke Cornett, I'm not going to undersell the ice water in the veins free throw thing. That was awesome after they were missing. That was awesome.
Oh, amazing moment from him. And I feel like he's given them more consistent minutes recently, too. To be able to survive a game where Porzingis goes down like this, Horford scoring 10, Cornette giving solid bench minutes, and then Brissett coming out there. And feels like it felt to me immediately, John, when Brad mentioned the big wing potentially being internal. I don't know who else he could have been referring to other than Brissett, especially since they've made a more concerted effort over the last month or so here to get Brissett back out there. I mean, he had a 2-3 week stretch there where it was DNP city for him. And now he's a steady back end of the rotation guy, probably that 8th, 9th man on the team, depending on how healthy you are. So I like what he's given them. The crashing for him is so consistent. And John, I've been watching him since Syracuse.
Yep.
He was a great rebounder at Syracuse, but it's a different style now where he's crashing out of the corner. I know Scal mentioned it on the broadcast. He gets his hand on a ball every time, and he might not get it, but he is just relentless there, and he slips past the defense because they're not really paying attention to him as an offensive player. So he'll sneak in there and get a good angle on it, and he might tip it out to someone. He might grab it. There was one where he just ripped it out of someone's hands at one point. I think it might have been Heald's in the fourth quarter there. That nice stretch to open up the fourth where he was out there, Cornette. I think Tatum was out there because White was off already and they came in together. That was a nice sequence there to start a fourth where they just ran away with this game. This was like a 4-point game, John, and then it turned into almost 20 pretty quickly there. So that bench gets a lot of credit for that here. But I thought the Pacers overall, in this game, and of course they never led, but they put the Celtics in some uncomfortable positions, I thought. Obviously, the Celtics were settling early, I felt like. against their defense, where they could have gotten to the rim at will, and they did later in this game. But it felt like the Celtics wanted to play one way. We've talked about it, John. Joe having a little bit of a rigid approach with how they do things. Indiana guards a weird way and obviously has a unique array of personnel out there, a smaller team, that the Celtics, going into that drive and kick and fire up a three offense wasn't the right formula for this game, especially early. You need to get to the free throw line. This was another one, John, where you looked up at almost halftime and they had 8 free throw attempts. And it was like, what is going on? And then they adjusted as the game went on, which was good to see. But early on, I felt like they just fell into the way that Indiana wanted them to play, and they almost paid the price for it.
Yeah. And we talked about yesterday, going back and forth on does Tatum need a superstar game? And the consensus was, nah, Celtics have too much talent. Just spread it around, play. But again, Porzingis goes down, White ineffective, and Tatum has a superstar game. And
yeah, it was an interesting contrast to the whole season almost. Celtics have
and
won.
he has it, and Halliburton does not. Halliburton looks like ass on the other
he
side.
Was bad.
He was the hot, he's the hot new thing, and everybody's jumping all over that. That has to feel pretty good. And I'm not saying Tatum went out there to kind of like, but I did have a feeling that they were going to have that kind of,
Yeah, we did.
We that Orlando-ish, feel with this Indiana team. Like, yeah, you guys are nice. You can do some good things. You got some good young talent, but pump the brakes here. We're here to win it. And you guys are just a speed bump along the way. Like, you had your moment. And I kind of felt that they were going to approach these two games with that. What do you think? Like, how do you feel it? Like they approached it on the defensive side of things? Because I'm a little torn. I think they played well on defense. I think they played hard on defense. I also think there's a lot of threes that the Pacers are accustomed to hitting. I mean, that's a really low number. They shot 19%. They shoot 30% from three. This is a ball game. I mean, even 30%. It was abysmal. How much of that was what the Celtics did to them, and how much was just missing shots?
It came in waves, I thought. To open the game, I thought they were awesome defensively, especially with Porzingis out there. There was some good individual efforts, certainly. You forced turnovers in some good situations, especially that early one on Halliburton. I felt like got the Celtics going out in the run and, just playing with a good pace through this game. But there were definitely missed shots, too. I mean, when a team shoots 19%, obviously it's a bad shooting night. But overall, the Celtics, I thought, across the board, played good individual defense here. I don't really remember anyone breaking loose in ways that made you say, uh-oh. Like, Mathen got a few floaters off in the lane. Halliburton obviously struggled. I thought Hield never really got going. Neesmith was bad. I mean, this just continues to be a brutal matchup for him. Every other night you look up and he's scoring 20+, but against the Celtics, he just gets completely consumed out there. And he definitely missed some open ones too on an 0-for-7 night. But I thought the defense drove them in this game, and I love how that's becoming more and more the case, John. They were great there last night against Utah. In this game, I thought like they had some really good moments. Horford had a pair of chase down blocks. He blocked Halliburton off the backboard at one point on that annoying play where they were getting out on the run, and the Pacers got a technical that stopped it. Pretty similar to the Taylor Jenkins play last night, as you saw, John. That's becoming a weird little cheat code for for coach. If you want to take a technical, you can stop a transition run once a game. Wonder if more and more coaches are going to start trying that. But this is a good defensive performance when you're talking about a team that last night put up 150, holding them to 101. I don't care the circumstances and missed shots is really impressive here.
I think that's a season low.
Certainly the first quarter had to be. I mean, what did they score?
No, I mean,
20?
I think I saw that their season low was 103. I think 101 is a season low for the Pacers.
Celtics held them to 17, 32,
They
32,
lost to the Grizzlies
20.
116-103, and I think that was the lowest mark of the year for them. So far, I'm looking up and down. Yep, I think that's it. 103.
Yeah, and you're starting to see the stronger defensive halves all season. I think the Celtics.
That's twice 104 in the 50-point loss to the Celtics earlier in the year, but again, that was without Halliburton. But
yeah, 15 last night against the Jazz was the fewest the Celtics have allowed in a quarter all year. 16 last week against the Pistons was second. And the Pacers' 17-point first quarter tonight moves into a tie for third fewest points allowed by the Celtics in a quarter this year. So they're rolling defensively, John. They have a lot of good personnel. It feels like they're throwing different looks out there. A little bit of zone again tonight. They have Holiday doing his thing. I love when he chased Halliburton down like the whole way down the court and just took the ball from him later.
That was great.
There's some good individual efforts across the board here, and this goes back to what we talked about last year. They ranked really poorly in isolation defense last year. You had some guys who had some brutal seasons, Smart, Brogdon. I thought Grant ranked pretty poorly there too, if I'm remembering right. And this year, you're starting to see Brown holding opponents to 40% shooting. Tatum, we threw out the isolation numbers with him last night, 0.6 per 100. Pritchard's are kind of astounding too. There's not a huge sample size there, but I looked it up last night. He's allowing 0.23 points per possession in isolation. So he's doing a good job too when he gets out there. They have, Porzingis said this last night. When you have individuals who can defend like this, it really doesn't matter what the system is. And it feels like they've sharpened the system a little bit too to be able to go to some different looks and not just throw that drop out there every possession like they did last year.
Which I hated.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Again, it was, when the other team was taking advantage of it, it just felt like you were just giving baskets away. It drove me insane watching that as just the only way that they played. And like how many games you'd be in the middle and be like, they got to stop dropping here. And they just wouldn't do it. So I like the different looks a lot here from this team. And you have the personnel to do it.
Definitely. I thought, you imagine this team before the Holiday trade playing really long. You'd have Rob out there with Porzingis. We're trying to imagine what it would look like. Now you're playing a little bit smaller, but it never seems to matter. They just play up in their positions. Drew can guard bigs. White's pretty versatile across the board. I know they started him on Halliburton tonight, and he had his ups and downs there. But the way they attacked him as a team, Horford's ability, that steal and run out and alley-oop to Brown from him is just ridiculous. You take for granted just what he's given this team still, and it's out of this world.
He scares the crap out of me in transition because I think he makes the wrong play like 99 out of 100 times. So it's just always something where it's just like Al just loves dribbling it up the court. But that was a great play to Brown for the dunk there. But yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, all around, I just felt like they got some really good moments from pretty much everybody on the team here tonight. Even White had a few nice buckets late after the foul trouble and everything else he went through in this game and finished a +20, as Amit pointed out in our chat here. I don't think that reflects the game he had, but he still managed for White.
I know, right?
He still managed to make some plays late, which you like.
Well, as soon as he came back in the game, it felt better, right? In that fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And he settled it down. And I think he hit one shot or maybe, two to start. But like all of a sudden it was like, okay, because that third quarter, it was so rocky. Obviously you had to sit Tatum and White for the duration of it. And it was not the prettiest lineup out there. And every time you looked up, you're like, there's still 4.5 minutes left in this quarter. Like, man, we got to get through this. And then they did. So it was nice to get the band back together at the beginning of the fourth there. And again, Porzingis out. We'll see. Amit, if you see any updates from Joe on that,
I'll tell you there won't be.
Look at it.
There won't be, John.
Yeah.
I appreciate.
No, but you want to know if he could have played, and they were like, screw it.
So he was out there at halftime shooting around, and then it looked like he went back to the locker room for the second half. So I don't know if that had to do with just not want to be out there in the bright lights or whatever it was. It was weird, right? He got poked in the eye, went to the sideline. They were doing some vision tests on him, it looked like, giving him some eye drops, just trying to get him ready. He got right back in the game very quickly, ran up and down about 4 times, and then he had to get out of the game and just ran to the locker room. That was a weird sequence where he tried to gut it out and pretty quickly realized that he was going to be in the locker room for the rest of the half, and then effectively missing the rest of the game there. What do you worry about? Could he have scratched it?
Yeah. But whatever. I think he could. You could miss a couple of games. I don't think he's going to lose the eye.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So it was a weird play that could have really thrown them off here. Again, you didn't have him last time you were here, and that was a big reason that they lost that in-season tournament game, and they were still able to produce offense. And I felt like a big thing here, and I know you hated it, John, but they didn't need screening or anything like that. They didn't need actions. They just needed to get into mismatches, getting
That's
into
all
the
they
half
did.
court quickly, and take advantage of them quickly. Because the two things that the Pacers aren't going to do, and I thought Scal was really good with this on the broadcast, they weren't going to send help, and they were going to give up the rim to try to take away the threes. So that's a trap that the Celtics fell into a couple times here, and putting up too many threes last time. Remember the just astoundingly low number of free throws they shot in that last game, John? I think they ended this game with a pretty respectable number, but
They ended up with 19 and Indiana got 22, but for a while it was 14, 15, I think, before Boston shot its first.
yeah,
And then they got that string of them, that 8 free throws early in the third quarter, but they only
missed them
made
all.
3 of them. They missed Tatum and Brown each missed 2. So that was goofy, and that continued. Horford missed 2, I think. That was weird. That was just a
Hasn't
weird.
it felt like those two guys have missed them all year too? It's been strange.
It's just a weird shooting funk. Yeah.
Brown's down to 74 from 77 last year, which isn't a huge dive. But Tatum, who's been like living above 80 in his career, is down to he's down to 81 or 84.
It's not
career.
that bad. It's not that bad. He's been an 85-ish guy the last few years, and he's around 81 this year. So each is a small dip, but honestly, I'm not concerned.
It's not a concern. It's just you notice every once in a while they go up there and split them, and you're just like, it'd be great to have 1 or 2 more of those. I wonder where they rank in the league.
This is a good point. Yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, Neesmith is a walking foul. You're right. I have no idea how he gets away with that. We'll get into some more
Celtics
stuff in a little bit.
8th in free throw percentage. So
yeah,
they've been hitting.
Let's get into a couple more. We might even welcome a special guest onto the show. I got to tell you guys quickly about our sponsor, FanDuel. And again, NFL play. I mean, there's NFL games on right now, but NFL playoffs about to begin, and FanDuel is where you want to be. Get in on the action there. By the way, if you are a Patriots fan, in the Tankathon world, you are rooting for the Texans tonight in the strength of schedule battle with the Washington Commanders.
Wow,
okay?
you've really looked into this.
Yes, there's one critical game. You want the Texans, you want the Bears over Green Bay, you want Denver over Vegas, but the biggest game by far is Atlanta over New Orleans. And right now, there's a single game difference between the Commanders and the Patriots. If they finish tied, the Patriots would win out on the pick in that case, because head-to-head is the next tiebreaker, and they lost to them. The Commanders beat them. But these games are the ones that are going to determine whether or not, if they do end up tied. And the biggest one is Atlanta, New Orleans. That is a 2-game swing. Atlanta has to win that game at New Orleans tomorrow. And if they do, the Patriots.
What are you trying to get up to, 2?
Well, you want to stay. Yeah, you want to stay ahead of you want to get ahead of the Commanders up to 2. If you lose, I think they're going to beat the Jets anyway. But anyway, you guys might have your own opinions, and if you want to get down, head to FanDuel.com/Boston. Get $150 in bonus bets when you place a $5 bet. You don't have to do a thing; just place the bet, and you deposit 10, bet 5, bang. That's it. FanDuel.com/Boston. Sign up today. Get in on the action wherever you can. And again, this is non-withdrawable bonus bets. You can use them to bet. Check out the website. Different rules and stipulations apply. But again, definitely want to get in on the FanDuel action here as we head into the playoffs with the official partner of the NFL and the official wagering partner of the CLNS.
Who would you
Media
bet?
Network.
Who would you bet right now for the NBA championship, John?
I would bet Josue Pavon made a guest appearance, and you didn't think he would for the championship.
A guest appearance. Wow. Who didn't think that, Bobby?
Well, when you're 20-something minutes late, we call it a guest appearance. Yeah.
I mean, listen, you neither one of you expect me to show up. This assumption that, it's Saturday night and Jimmy and Josue just lump me in there. He's not going to show up. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to show up, and I'm going to surprise these guys, I guess, quote unquote, surprise them. Like, geez, what's up with this assumption? I don't get it.
Well,
again,
The West Coast road trip, I understand that, but
so are you? But you were kind of telling us you weren't planning on coming until we said you weren't coming, and then you decided to come.
Wait, when did you decide that I was out of it?
I didn't know. I thought you were out. After 20 minutes, we were like, he's out. We called him. Time of death.
I don't know what you were saying before I got on last night, but when you signed off, it was like, you already know Bobby and I hold it down. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, the assumption, like, I don't know. It just cracked me up. But this is the perfect game for it. And honestly, I thought this one would go down to the wire, even with the way Tatum was going off, because the way the Celtics were turning the ball over, I was like, the Pacers are like 2 3-pointers away from making this thing a real game.
Right? It felt like it would, but it didn't.
Held them off.
So this is how I felt all year, Josue. And we were talking about it yesterday.
Lately. What you mean lately? Sorry, not you, Bobby. This guy. Go ahead.
We were talking about this yesterday, Josue. It was like, are they going to split it? Are they going to sweep this series? And you're just sitting there saying, like, all right, Pacers have been playing well. They played the Celtics tough. They'll probably split it. You know, the Celtics will slip up here in one of these. And felt like it could have been tonight. Maybe you blow this game. It's a weird
I'll tell
night.
you that.
But that's it, John. They just keep taking care of business this year. It feels like we're going to be in the All-Star break with less than one handful of games that really frustrate you. And
like I said, this was Orlando to me. Like, they're not. I'm not having this Pacers bullshit. Like,
and this
I
is
really
why we
felt
hold
the Celtics were.
This is why we hold them to a high standard, John, because we see what they're capable of here, especially at full strength, and even missing some guys as they were in this game once Porzingis went down.
Full strength, missing free throws, turning the ball over, and losing Porzingis, losing guys to foul trouble, and you're still able to win this game.
So this is the expectation. Like, I don't want to hear excuses this year. I don't want to care about what happened or who wasn't there or the refs who people were complaining about during this game or whatever else. This is the best team in the league by far. And
well, yeah, when you got 2 30-plus point, you know what I mean, scores, like this is supposed to happen. But you also have to credit guys like Derek White. I mean, he did get into foul trouble, but he made some big plays down the stretch. Al Horford, I thought, was going to have one of those nights where he might put like 4 or 5 threes in. It wasn't quite that, but you got a little bit of both, right? Those key stops, that fast break alley-oop, like you turn into a point guard there, like 7 rebounds. That was great, especially without Kristaps Porzingis. So that was enough. I mean, I'm expecting Haliburton to hit a couple of threes just to get everyone else going. That's just the way they work, especially offensively. On the defensive side, clearly the Pacers, that's what gets them going. But they didn't have an answer for Jaylen, and especially early. I felt like it was just one of those things where it's like it was a thorn in their side, and they couldn't figure it out. And then all of a sudden, Tatum goes off, and they were just overwhelmed, especially on the defensive side.
We didn't mention
I like
him,
that
John.
They were backing guys in too. What's that?
We didn't mention him, of course. With you in control here, Jaylen was incredible.
Oh, you guys didn't talk about Jaylen? Oh man.
No, we spent some time on Jayson, but
no, we started with Tatum. But Brown. No, we did say that they did a really good job just picking the matchup. Like, it was like, you got it, I got it, you got it, I got it. And
because there's no one on that team that can stay in front of Jaylen.
Can I put the shot chart
up?
Up?
Though Neesmith gave Tatum the business last time, so like, and in fact, during that game, I think a lot of people were like, I don't think the Celtics should keep going to that as if it's a matchup right now, because Neesmith was, I'm not gonna say getting the better of it, but he was giving him everything he could handle there. It was not a great matchup when they were hunting it over and over and over again last time, but tonight they got whatever they got whatever they wanted.
Look at this, John. I'm gonna throw it up here.
Oh yeah,
I gotta.
Oh, that's a
Bobby
great
shot charts.
That is a beautiful shot.
But that was it.
Efficient Jaylen is the best Jaylen.
I didn't talk about it because I was kind of, doing my little thing where I complained about too many pull-ups from Tatum. And Brown was the opposite. He just went. Yeah, he just went to the basket.
You knew it was bad when Haliburton is like going back to the bench, like, can somebody help me with him?
Yeah, I don't like this.
This isn't going to get any better. So we need to fix it.
This is the problem too, John, and we talked about this last night.
And Josue, I got a particular vibe off of that. I'll tell you what it was after, but go ahead.
All right.
This is the problem too. We talk about is Shea passing Tatum, or is Haliburton? Would you rather have Haliburton than Tatum? Shea's a good defender, but Haliburton just really gives you nothing on that end. It's tough when you're not a defensive impact player, I think, to say you have a case over Tatum, because for Jayson, the impact on that end is just too high, too consistent. And, if you're talking about Haliburton or Trae Young or whoever you want to toss up there, like those guys just struggle so much on that end.
Young's a legit liability. Halliburton, not a flat out liability, but a guy that they could hunt for matchups all day long, and that's what they did. He's just not.
So I think you always have to take that in consideration when you're stacking up your best players.
But there's no question. That's the whole thing. Like with Tatum and Brown, when both of them want to, and defense is a part of their game, they rise up several levels over a lot of these other stars here, because if you can change a game on the other end of the floor, that's just something a lot of these guys can't do. They can get the buckets, but they can't do that. Like Tatum, again, they lost the game, but the pivotal moment was when he decides to guard SGA the other day. When you can do that as a superstar, that elevates your status to a legit level. And again, and the stats don't matter nearly as much there. And that's what we say about Tatum is it doesn't matter if he's rebounding, finding guys, moving the ball and playing defense. It doesn't matter if he's dropping 23 or 30. It's still great. Like, when he's playing good defense, he's on a different level.
Yeah. And you look at the recent champions too. You go back to Milwaukee with Giannis, or even Denver last year. I thought their key in many ways was Jokic reaching a higher level on the defensive end. He's come a long way on that side of the ball to be an impact guy. And, KD, even with the Warriors, I don't think got enough credit for some of the defense he played, especially at center during those years. And, all the way down the line, you're always going to have top tier defense from the best defensive player, from the best player on the team, I feel like, if you're going to be a champion. And, for these teams to have mismatches or have liabilities on that end, it's always going to be a challenge, because I feel like it's just such an emphasis in the league now is playing those guys off the floor. And credit to the Celtics for emphasizing it so much. Like, I don't think there's a single thing Joe talks about more, John, than finding the matchup. And they do it routinely. I think Brown, I've written about the work he's done in that sense, and he's gotten so good at it. Tatum, playing more physically against guys in the lane that are smaller than him. That's changed their games. And we can gripe about the 3-point attempts from both sometimes, and I do feel like they tick a little too high because of the fact that these guys are so efficient inside the arc. I mean, these are two 70% shooters at the rim. And the frustrating part, I feel like, too, Josue, is that, like, everybody else is missing their layups out there. And it's just, brutal for the transition defense, when Holiday's missing one in there with the left hand, and, Horford had a miss, hook shot. They try to send him inside a little bit more, and he just really doesn't have it around the rim right now. So
White was trying to get that floater going sometimes. Yeah, that's true.
This team can't miss layups, and that's why, I think people look at Joe and they're like, oh, man, he just wants to shoot the three because it's the analytics. But I think he looks at his team and says, these guys can't make friggin' layups. We got to shoot threes, or else
he looks at Gary and does that. But yeah. That's true. Like, he's always the one to point out, well, how many layups did we miss? No one ever asked me about that. So
I wonder where they rank. I'm gonna look that up quickly. But
it's fair. It's fair. It's just, again, it does boil down to the quality of the shot. It's a lot of the times that's his defense, right? When he gets those kind of questions at the after a loss. But in this game, it was different. Obviously, these guys were efficient. They kept that 50% clip all the way until the end. But
inside 5 feet, Bobby, middle of the pack.
Yeah, they're not great. They're not terrible, and Tatum
less than
and Brown
5 feet.
So good.
They are actually, believe it or not, less than 5 feet, 67%, fifth in the league. That's because of the post-up stuff, and I think that's Porzingis a lot too.
Yeah, Porzingis, Tatum, Brown, all really good in there. But everybody else,
yeah.
So
how about your boy Brissett, huh?
We didn't get to Brissett, but man, I think is it over?
Did he win it? He won the spot already?
Did he win it?
Brad calls him tonight. Congratulations. No.
He's the final contestant.
I don't think we talked about it, but Josue, we saw it right there. I think he was guarding Clarkson, or I forget who he was guarding, taking him inside, and he just stripped him, dove on the ball, got the Celtics a transition opportunity right when he came in the game last night. And tonight, again, the offensive rebounds, massive, a few nice rim runs. His
hands are so strong. When he goes up and he gets a hand on the ball for those rebounds, he rips it. It's really impressive.
Yeah.
You know, you would get how frustrated we'd be with a lot of the tapping, you know, Rob Williams and his tapping. Grab the friggin' ball. You know, like,
I hated
you know,
it.
it drives me.
Luke
There's
does
a
that
lot
too.
of what's that? There's
Luke
been a
does
lot
it.
of tapping. O'Shea goes up there and he just rips these rebounds down. I love it. I love it. And like in crowds, and then he's got the wherewithal to not like spaz out and try to score. He's like, nope, I'm gonna give it to other people now and go back to being O'Shea Brissett, which is what you're supposed to do when you're O'Shea Brissett.
You're right, but how about the I call it like a punch block. He was like swinging for people. He was like, obviously it was clean, but it was just
the double blocks on Heald with Brown.
Yeah,
that was such a great
He's like, no, I got this.
Yeah.
And then on the other
defender.
side, you know, he's flexing after the 3-point shot against his former team, their crowd. Good for him.
And I agree with this take here. If he were just, and I know Bobby, his track record is better than what he's been shooting here. And you do wonder with more minutes, if he knows he's playing 12, 13 a night and it's his job to take that corner three every time he has it open and he gets up into the 36, 37, 38 range where he's been in past seasons, that's a game changer there. Because then all of a sudden you kind of got your 3-and-D option and the guy who can give you the energy and the spark there. And I'm more than happy to give him those sparky 10, 12 minutes there, as long as he's not a 0-0-0 on offense. But you've seen him finish strong a couple times now, you know, going up and rising up and throwing it down. He had that great and one there. I mean, he's on the floor with not to close, but I mean, he's in there in that critical time when the Celtics had widened that lead. He played.
Yeah, who's he in there for? Was it
played
Holiday
key
or White?
minutes at that point?
Yeah,
it was White because he picked up his 5th foul.
Yeah, so he
it was for White at the end.
He snuck into the closing lineup there, which was pretty impressive.
Yeah. Impressive.
So, this is great, and I was so scared, John. You know I love him. That start to the season was just awful. 17% from the field. I think he was like below 10% from three, and he just got buried for 2-3 weeks. And you're like, this isn't. You know, this not only could have been the end of his time in this rotation, but you play like that for a little bit and you're kind of on edge of whether you're still in the league or not. But the Celtics clearly like them. They gave him 2 years, which I think said a lot. He has a player option for the second year, and I know it's the minimum, but you're usually going to give a guy like this 1-year deal and so see how it goes. But they gave him 2, and they put him in the rotation pretty early and often to begin the season, and then they made a concerted effort to go back to him, John. And, I don't think this is a front office that meddles at all, but I am sure they probably went down and were like, let's start to see some of these other guys. And we have seen them, right? Shvee in moments. Lamar had that stretch where a couple bigs were down. But O'Shea's been the guy who they've really tried to commit to here and make part of this rotation because I think he gives them things that they need. And, Brad obviously mentioned it yesterday, saying that they need a big wing to emerge here. And it was hard. Josue and I were talking about it yesterday to say it was anyone other than this guy. So I don't know if he has an inside track at it. As you mentioned, John, the shooting's inconsistent here. The switching, I think, in a playoff level intensity, I think could challenge him if some guards pull him out to the perimeter. That's not really his ideal role defensively here. And you wonder how long he'll last out there if guards really start going at him. But offensive rebounding, just making the right play. There was a really nice play a couple games ago where he passed up a layup and, fired out a pass to, I think, Holiday for 3. So he just looks more comfortable out there. As you mentioned, John, early in the season, he looked very Neesmithy out there, with just how erratic he was.
Spazzy.
Yeah.
A lot of them did in their early minutes.
The
first minutes of Banton, the first minutes of Stevens, it's spazzy. And
he even said to me, like, it's hard being out there for one shot, one moment where if you screw up at all, you're out of here. Like he said, he worried about getting yanked right out of those games if he made a mistake. But the key for this bench, Josue, and we've talked about how consistent they've been, maybe not the individuals, but it feels like every night overall they're getting a good game from the bench. They don't have to do a lot. And Brad mentioned that the other day too. Like, you're around great players, so just rebound, hit your 1 or 2 shots maybe and defend. And that's all you really need to do if you're coming off this bench.
Right, but when you're doing things like we talked about last night, right? Those type of plays where you're leaping for a loose ball in the first quarter. I think that stuff stands out as well. Joe Mazzulla loves that type of stuff. And then when you're able to get rebounds at a high level, how many games does he check in for 7 minutes, quick spurts, and he grabs 3-4 rebounds? Sometimes they're offensive rebounds that create second.
You know what those are?
You're not getting those from those other guys.
They're slump busting plays. That's the when you're going in a not a great direction, and maybe you're not in a good flow, or your shot selection is off, or they're just not falling, and you get those plays. It's a reset. It's just it's a do-over, and it's so great. And that's what a guy like Brissett has been providing you is, that possession was a friggin' mess, but I just stole us an offensive rebound. Let's do it all over again. It gives you that second life, and it really does help. It's a good bailout at times when things aren't going good, and that's why you need those little energy sparks.
They're 10th now in offensive
confidence
rebounds.
too, for sure.
Yeah. I left this comment up here because I didn't want to talk about it, because this is funny. Every time you do have Gary going in on the 3-pointers and Joe says something about the layups, it really is as basic as this. It's because you expect layups to be hit and they're a higher percentage shot, and that's why you want to take them, but the threes are not. And the question is always, maybe you're not as good at it as you think you are, so don't shoot it. If you took the same formula and applied it to half-court shots versus threes, and
that's the thing, right?
And they took 40 half-court shots in a game, and Gary was like, Joe, you took a lot of half-court shots and you missed them. He's like, we missed a lot of threes too. Yeah, well, one is harder than the other. And maybe you shouldn't take the harder one so much. That's kind of the point behind it. So Joe's philosophy is not wrong. It's just funny that the counter is about layups. It's just kind of made me think about it. But anyway.
Yeah.
I also do feel like
it has nothing to do with tonight's game either. It's a funny continuous back and forth that goes on.
It's like, but you took a lot of them, Coach. Yeah. Right. It's like 50 or even more. It's happened with
Joe is not.
I'll get to the beef with me and Jimmy later, but go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. What was up with that? I didn't even want to look into it. I'm just gonna ask John. I'm seeing stuff on Twitter. I'm like, what?
Well, I gotta say, Jimmy might have come out on top there.
Are you kidding? He relented after the last one.
No, I'm just talking on. I thought that was sparked by your back and forth last night, but everything
Is that why
Jimmy
he was
said.
so fiery last night? Jeez.
No, he wanted me to. Porzingis was playing, and he kind of went in.
Porzingis was playing,
and he started in on me.
He was right about 4 wins for the Pacers over the Bucks.
And then he got poked in the eye, and everything went the other way.
Yeah, he was like, John's been around. John, apology, Cam, and then we just started gifting each other. Was
it before he got poked in the eye, Porzingis?
Oh wait, it was all day. Jimmy and I were going at it on Twitter all day.
This morning, but he got those two things right, John. And I think he also got right that you need to slow this game down a little bit and take control of the pace and not play the up and down.
Did they play slow in the first quarter?
I felt like they played in control.
No, they went at them.
You're not gonna go down to them. Yeah, but what I'm talking about, and I'm sure Jimmy was too, you don't want to be in the up and down race like they were in that first quarter against Sacramento, playing 40-38. You want to be piling up stops. You want to be taking control of the game possession-wise. And I felt like they did that, even the offensive rebounds. And you weren't able to do it with free throws early, certainly. But as the game went on, those were the things I felt like that separated Boston. Free throws, offensive rebounds, and the execution in the half court, attacking those mismatches. So it's a fine line, right? You want to play up tempo, obviously. You don't want to be in a slog, but you don't want to be racing up and down the floor with some of these high-paced teams either, as they were with Oklahoma City earlier in the week.
Yeah. And guys, we understand this. We all get it. And in fact, Joe talks about this all the time. You miss layups, transition the other way. We've seen it a million times. We've complained about it a million times. Tatum or Brown would go in wildly foul hunting, miss a layup, complain foul hunting, transition the other way. The other team hits a three. That's a bad shot. You see them kicking it out and passing up those shots a ton more. So we're not complaining. We understand the analytics. I totally understand Joe's philosophy behind it. His philosophy is right, actually, and it makes a ton of sense. So nobody's arguing it. It's just a funny, constant back and forth.
We said
when they become overly reliant on it, you're going to have members of the media who are like, so that's it. That's all we do. That's all you guys do. Just shoot the threes. Yeah.
We've said it going back to last year. His philosophies are all sound, but you can't take anything to the extreme.
They're all
And
sound. It's yeah.
And you need to adjust in certain situations, Josue. Like, they are very rigid sometimes with how they approach games, how they approach offense, and how they want certain guys playing. Like, there isn't a lot of variance with them night to night in terms of how they go about things. And I feel like Joe's getting a little better with that this year. I know Matt Moore brought it up on the hardwood paroxysm there, who's always kind of going at the Celtics and nitpicking them. But I thought he was right in that he's interested to see. And his biggest concern with this team is Joe in a tit for tat with another coach in a series. Because I feel like that was a problem last postseason. Quinn Snyder really challenged him round one. Even Doc and the Sixers seemed a little ahead of him at times with some of the stuff they were doing in that series. And then certainly Spoelstra had his number there in the East Finals. So adjustments are key in the playoffs, and Joe doesn't seem to love to adjust what they're doing. And
but he's done that in a big way this year, though, Bob. And because of the things you just said, like the defense is like he's all about it now. I mean, he's still the same. His philosophy hasn't wavered in the sense of how he executes offensively and all that. But he's got these guys, breaking out the zone every once in a while. Keeping them on their heels, just kind of throwing things at them to make sure that they're always ready for anything, essentially.
Yeah, he has counters this year, which I think are good. Even just
guys
got
counters. You got ways to shake things up.
They got the double big look. They got different ball handlers, different sets they can even get to. I'm glad he's acknowledged in many ways, John. I think some of the ways he felt short last year, mentioning that he never felt like he had to talk about defense to these guys. He thought that was just a given. Feeling like he didn't have counters on that end of the court, curveballs, as he put it.
But isn't it interesting to hear him say that, considering what we heard Hardy say yesterday? How he kind of felt like everything was already set up, the way the system was already in place, the way Ime had it and all that, and it wasn't a whole lot of like, oh, we got to change this or we got to change that. And they talked about the historic aspect of the Celtics and the franchise and all that. It's interesting because all that kind of changes because Missoula went through it all the way to almost the NBA Finals, and I feel like it's good that he realized you have to have sort of these curveballs to throw at teams, and you got to make sure your team's on the same page, because you run into a team like the Miami Heat with Spoelstra, or the way the series lasted against the Atlanta Hawks and a really good coach in Quinn Snyder, and you never know, a series could go longer than you wanted or than anyone anticipated, and then anyone can win that game 7. So.
How do you feel about Joe in the playoffs this year, John?
Who?
Joe.
In the playoffs. I don't know, honestly. I think Joe, the one thing that you guys were talking about, especially regarding the, kind of admitting, well, I thought this went without saying, and I didn't emphasize that, and I wish we talked about that, is I think he, though he's not quick to admit it in post-game comments, which I don't give a crap about, because again, I don't think that's indicative of what's going on behind the scenes and what matters to the players. It's fun to poke at, but it doesn't really matter. I think he learned things, and I think he is evolving and adapting, and that's probably the most important thing about a coach. I mean, we are, maybe
he's open-minded.
We're 24 hours or, a little more away from, arguably the greatest coach all time being let go because of his inability to adapt and to change and to, accept outside help or look in the mirror or do whatever. So yeah, it's super important to do that, and I think going back again to the rigidity of a philosophy, do this and it just this, how many times after games is he, people get on us in the chat for being nitpicky and critical after games. How many times last year after wins, Joe would be like, yeah, we won, but I really don't like how few threes we shot. And we were like, is this guy serious? I just don't think he's as
some weird stuff last year.
Oh yeah.
So I think he was really, really, really locked in to making sure that what he wanted done was the thing that they were doing without really kind of stepping back and looking at the bigger picture. And I think he's doing a better job. And I think he has, as you said, mixing it up on D, giving different looks, making some in-game adjustments. I know people are quick on it, but I'm definitely, for somebody who was
if we went into the season with the top question marks being how's Jaylen going to fit in on the offense, and how do you feel about Joe in year 2? I'm no longer at all concerned about the Brown thing in the least, and the Missoula thing you feel a good bit better than you did at the beginning of the year, wouldn't you say? Playoffs is a different animal, but like, at least throughout, through the first 35 games or so, you definitely, I think he's allayed some of those concerns, don't you?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And you have buy-in. We talked about that last night. Everybody across the board here trusts what they're doing. And even if it doesn't go their way on any given night, he's in a good position to bounce back the following night. And the one guy I still look at here, and I want to talk about his game tonight a little bit, just because I don't know how I felt this way from the start, John. And you think I hate him? I don't. I just feel weird about where he's at on this team sometimes, especially on the offensive end, and it's Jrue Holiday. Like, where does he fit in on this offense? They don't utilize him as a ball handler often. He hasn't finished well. He tries to go that little bang play against guys in the post, and he's missed that quite a bit too. He's shooting well from 3, but he doesn't shoot a ton of them. Tonight off at 1 for 5. The rebounding's incredible, and that's why I'm
with
not
Holiday.
I'm not concerned because even those offensive rebounds alone are so huge from him. But I just feel like they can involve him a little bit more smoothly.
Here's the thing:
a little bit easier
somebody's gotta be sacrificed, right? Like,
he's facilitating, man.
And it's him every night. I feel like
White said it. White even said it recently. I can't remember when it was, but White said, I gotta tip my hat to Holiday because basically he's taken a back seat and allowed me to be more offensive here. I mean, he's really does not have a role in the offense. It's take it when it's there. Every once in a while, look to create that space, facilitate, and if
probably screen, get weaker guys on Jaylen, and I get it. It's just, man,
but
that's gotta be
he's
tough.
definitely the guy that they're not worried about. Like, no matter what, like you can watch any game and be like, wow, they got to do a better job getting it to Brown. They get, how is Tatum only taking 3 shots, and it's the middle of the second quarter? Why did they stop going to Porzingis? He was so effective in the first quarter. No matter what, it always feels like you're shorting one of the big 3 guys in terms of touches because they can take advantage of a matchup or they were playing so well, and so there's just no room for forcing it into Holiday. It just has to happen organically, I think. And so it's always going to be a little goofy for him because all of those other guys are playing at such a high level offensively, and then White's been awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing. If you look across the starting 5, I mean, if he was hurting them, I would say, okay, yeah, we should have more of a conversation about that. But I'm not worried about it. And honestly, I think he's due. I also think Al Horford's due. I just think those are the kind of guys that their offense is gonna reappear when people least expect it. And I think with Jrue Holiday, he keeps himself sort of like in the mix because he has to guard some of the tougher guards on the other end. And I think a lot of the times where he wants to settle down the offense when things are getting too hectic, and he's done a good job at that. And the rebounding, yeah, for sure, he's literally.
He is
one of the top rebounders and creates so many extra opportunities for guys when he's doing that.
He's uncanny as a rebounder. Every night he has a big one, it feels like. So I'm not worried. It's just something I keep.
It's not a worry. It's not. It's just ultimately I think he's the sacrificial lamb of this offense. So he's going to do every other thing and draw the tough defensive assignment and just be kind of that glue guy. And it's fine. Like, he just does it. And I mean, look at him. He went from, with Middleton being off, with the Bucks or hurt last year, he was legit second offensive option who had to look to score quite a bit last year for the Bucks team to be successful.
And that took away from his defense.
And now he's undeniably the 5th option, So I have no concern with it. I've said it earlier in the year, and somebody asked me on Twitter, like, how do you think? I think it's a little bit of a mixed bag. I'd like to see him offensively just shoot a little better at the rim when he does go there. But otherwise, that's about it. The rest of it is just simply a give the game what it needs sort of situation. I said earlier in the year, I can watch an entire game, come away from it thinking, like, Holiday's been great.
and then look at the box score and just be shocked. I'm like, 14, huh? 8? Only 8? Whoa, 3 for 9. He didn't shoot that well. It doesn't register to me. It doesn't seem to impact. His stat line never seems to really be a measure of what he actually did when he's out there. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm looking at it through rose-colored glasses because I'm such a Holiday fan. That's just how I feel with it every time I watch him. I look at the box score and I'm like, I didn't even realize he was doing that well or not well.
Yeah, no, the rebounds and assists especially, those catch you off guard sometimes, and there's no doubt the Bucks miss them. I mean, you look at what's going on to their defense this year, and not much has changed other than subbing out him for Lillard. And Celtics, I know they floated around number 2 last year, 2 all season, finished there, but this feels like a different level that they're playing at on that end this year, a different level of consistency at least. And I think a big part is they handed him the keys. I wrote earlier this season that for the first time in his career, which is amazing, he's running the defense. He's calling everything out there. He's deciding when they go to the zones and the presses and all that. So he's embracing that. Awesome. And, some guys love defense. I feel like he's thrilled with that role. And he really is, being around him, John, a guy who just is like, oh, I scored 8 tonight. Like, well, I don't care. Like, that's just kind of his personality. And it's funny to be around because a lot of these guys do have an ego and they do, look at the stats and, get a little worried about how they're playing. He's like, I don't care. We won.
People are asking for an update on Porzingis. The update on Porzingis is there is no update on Porzingis.
I knew it. What is it?
But Joe said maybe I'll have something a little bit later. Joe also got very
I love
gushy.
Joe, but I can't stand when he does that.
I'll tell you though, it's not just Joe, man.
It's not just Joe. I know.
Hockey in the hockey world, you just find out which hemisphere of the body the injury is. It's upper body or lower body injury, and that's it. And good luck. You can have your leg amputated, and Belichick will call you day to day. So, it doesn't matter.
There was a press conference a handful of games ago, pregame, where everybody was questionable. It was that big rest night. I forget what game it was, but we just rattled through all the players, and Joe just looked over to PR and was like, "Are they in?"
Yeah, he did it yesterday, and it was already announced that he was out. I'm like,
and that's his go-to answer with injuries. Is I don't know. Yeah. I haven't talked to him. It's like, you're the only guy we can talk to about this. Please just give us a little something.
Yeah, it was Al. Yeah, the team had just announced it, and he still looked at PR.
You got little Jimmy's lurking in the chat here. I think he's stacking up some toilet paper.
Little Jimmy,
setting
I
up
didn't
a
know
shot.
that was him.
He might get on the show. He might be a little Jimmy
Bruins game
tonight.
Did the Bruins win?
He might be.
He went to the Bruins
tonight.
game. That's right. Oh yeah, he might be. Yeah.
I mean, I'd have to imagine so. They won 7-3 over the Lightning. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good one. I was in the North End a little bit tonight. It's just friggin' madness there. Prior to the game, I kind of forgot there was a game.
Plus they're getting ready for the storm. North End must have been a mess.
It was just jammed, It's funny. I used to be in there 3 times a week when I lived in the city, and now I go in there. I'm like, these streets are so narrow, like.
Yeah.
How does anybody park here?
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's interesting, John.
I went in with my daughter. We went to get some pizza and some baked stuff after her 33-11 victory today. Sparks defeat the Wings.
You're the coach, right?
Yep.
Damn, blowout. Did you keep all the starters?
They're coming together.
Good defense.
John kept all the starters at the end.
No, I told them if they get a bucket, if they free somebody off a screen, and that person springs free and gets a bucket, they get baked goods for the next practice, and they friggin' did it. And
how intense are you? Do you got the clipboard?
Not at all. It's very relaxed. Very relaxed.
You don't draw plays? Go on.
Never.
Show them a full court press. Just throw everybody off.
Never. It's very basic. As the season goes on, try to incorporate a little more. I have 3 plays, but they're really just basic sets, and they can't get them right even in practice, so we don't even try them in the game. The only thing is whoever brings it up, pass and move. Pass and cut or go set a screen. That's it. Just move around a little bit. But
that's how it starts. Don't just stand there, pass, move. Yeah, that's how it starts.
Pass and move. That's what we're trying to do. But it was great. They sprung. One of the guards for it. Double screen. Bang bang. She goes around the corner.
Man.
Hits a layup. Place explodes. I gotta do some bacon on Thursday.
Bobby, we got to. You mentioned last week the North End. We got to grab a pie out there. It's been a while. I'm
loving Regina. Been there.
We went and got Regina to go and went to Bova's and got some stuff as well.
For people out there, and I'm sure for people who've heard this message, they're gonna be like, yeah. But people out there who haven't, there's a difference. Like if you go to the one in the North End, it's just that it's the one. I know it's small. You're gonna wait in line for maybe 15 minutes, maybe on a good day.
Regina on a Bruins night, on a Bruins or Celtics night, is a line.
Maybe not. Don't do that. But yeah, pick a night where there's not a game.
Actually, definitely don't go on one of those busy nights because they get sloppy with their pies, and you get in there and the slices are one slice is like this, and the other one's like
there really needs to be. I've noticed too, and it's my favorite. They've always been my favorite, but they really need to be well done.
Oh God damn it!
Let's go! Let's go! Yeah.
There he is. He's back.
Be careful.
I wasn't gonna come on. I
gonna be so quick on this trigger.
I wasn't gonna come on.
No, he's off. I can't do it. Can't do it.
I wasn't gonna come on until John. Oh, we got little Jimmy in the chat. Yeah, I'm in the chat. I'm downstairs on the chat. I knew he was smoking me out.
That one word.
Oh, he had the worst. He had the worst takes imaginable leading up to it. I almost had to jump on just to get him off.
I'm glad you're holding him accountable, Jimmy.
I am. Somebody has to. I mean, Bobby, he was wrong just about in every single word he said on last night's show. Absolutely went 0 for 3. This guy's fake news Zannis is what we're going to start calling him. You can't trust the guy anymore. You absolutely can't. I just took the worst walk of my life from the TD Garden back to my place. It's sleeting out. It's like 33 and a half degrees. It's just cold enough where it's not snow. And so I'm all wet. I'm miserable. And I got John chirping me. Not to mention.
Did you have us going in your headphones?
The meme god today. The GIF king on Twitter, John is today.
Yeah.
Nonstop.
So take us through it. What was that about?
That was fun. I don't know.
What's the trade Drew talk? I only caught half.
Nobody. I don't know where you got involved in that.
People in the comment section were saying that, but that's not what we're saying. We were just pointing out.
People in the comments think Bobby hates
pointing out his role.
Well, Bobby has said basically that he's not a Drew Holiday fan on many occasions.
So John gets to critique Tatum and Brown every night, but he doesn't hate them. But I say a thing or two here about Drew, and I'm a Drew hater. I love
John.
Drew.
No, John does hate them, actually. That's where you're wrong. That's where you're wrong, Bobby. Yeah. I think he's on record many times.
Can I get 2 new stars, please?
Yeah. Bobby, I don't know if you've heard or if you've seen. Every week he sends us an updated list of players better than these guys.
He would have traded Jaylen years ago, but not for Durant.
Can we get SJA and Edwards in here, please?
Yeah. I will give him this.
Wait, I was gonna say that one text though about the if Jaylen didn't resign. Wait, what was it, John? Refresh my memory. We'll go after Jimmy. Sorry, go ahead, Jimmy.
No. I was gonna say the one thing I'll give John credit for is he did want Halliburton 3 years ago when he was on San Antonio. So I'll give him credit for that. But that's it.
What was the domino effect that you were talking about, John? Do you remember?
It ends right there.
Which thing, Josue?
It was like the domino effect. You were like, if this doesn't happen, then what was it? Damn it. What was it? It was like Jaylen wouldn't have re-signed or something, or no, they would have been forced to trade him.
I know I said SJA. Jimmy, apology, Kim. It's SGA, but I was hoping it would slide. SJA. Somebody caught me. Yeah.
Oh, good. SJA.
Well, it's interesting because they've obviously made some.
I heard SGA.
They've obviously made some.
It was a slur.
It's the equivalent of a slur, yeah.
Hey, Jimmy, apologize.
For what? Apologize for what?
Kings, not Spurs. Idiot.
I said Kings.
No, you said Spurs.
I said Spurs.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think you were
maybe you
thinking
did.
about DeJounte Murray, who I was also thinking would be a guy that they could trade for. But anyway, go ahead.
You know what? DeJounte Murray has really, in my opinion, gone kind of backwards.
Yeah.
I thought he would be
so
awesome.
there's some trade buzz going around. I think this is probably a good time to bring it up. Nothing Celtics related. The only
With the Hawks or in general?
Yeah, Hawks are big right now. They're really falling apart.
We gotta shake that up.
The only Celtics nugget.
Oh, Bobby, didn't you hear? John crowned him a top 5 team of all time yesterday in the show. It's a top 5 offense of all time, he said.
Well, I didn't crown them. They're just these stupid stats that people keep, darn those numbers.
Yeah. Well, it's not about, it's all, it doesn't paint the whole picture because they're a product of the lack of, I guess, focus on defense that's going around in the league.
Ahmed, where's the boomer cam?
Bobby. So hit me with it. What did we talk about last night on last night's show? We said the Celtics are going to win this game by clamping down on defense,
boomer cam,
slowing the Pacers down, not
getting
trying
to the free throw line.
Getting to the free, even though they missed a bunch tonight, it looks
they
like
didn't get to the free throw line, and the Pacers weren't slowed down.
They did get to the free throw line. They just didn't hit them.
Eventually, they didn't get it. They didn't have any free throws in the first half, Jimmy. And
I didn't see the game.
They played 4 quarters.
And the Pacers missed the Pacers just missed every shot. They were flying up and down. They just missed them all.
Is it that simple?
It's never that
in the
simple.
first
Really
half.
that
It was
simple.
that simple. The Pacers when One-Foot they missed every
And let me guess,
shot.
second half.
Second half turned into the ISO ball matchup thing. That much more so.
Then
They went
in the fourth
into
quarter, they really
and more
ramped
in
up
the fourth.
defense.
And the third was a slop fest because Tatum and White both sat out and they were just holding on for their lives. So things slowed down because 3/4 of their starting 3/5 of their starting lineup was out because Porzingis went out. So the third quarter was just hang on for dear life. And then the fourth quarter was just Tatum and Brown just cooking everybody they had on them. I mean, Tatum did it all night.
This Pacers team's gonna add a wing. It feels like they barely missed OG Anunoby before the Knicks got him, according to the reports. You're seeing Kuzma float around a little bit with them, and Siakam's been connected to them for a long time. So they obviously play on Monday. They play again at the end of the month, so maybe those changes don't come until the Celtics never see them again until the playoffs. But this roster has to change for Indiana, I think, and I think it will. If they get aggressive enough here, but we'll see. They haven't been the most aggressive team trade-wise over the years. They've only done the slam dunks, like getting Oladipo for whatever they gave up back then, and Halliburton didn't cost any picks. It was just a Sabonis contract that they were already looking to move off there. So,
Jimmy, how was the Bruins
that's what
game?
it was. Okay, fine.
Awesome,
oh wait, Josue's got it. Josue's got it.
All right, let him cook.
You said, imagine if this team didn't make any trades, bought out Kemba, held on to Bane, that whole thing. It's interesting when you put it that way. I mean, all that stuff would have been hard to predict.
So the Bane thing's interesting because they didn't pick him.
Hold on, took Maxey over Neesmith and Segun.
Drafted Sengun. Yeah,
or Sengun.
And because you hadn't traded that pick away to get off of Kemba, it's
right. But then, like you said here, no Al, no KP, no Drew. Like
you've always loved those scenarios, John. They'd be in a worse spot. I don't think there's any doubt.
Just interesting.
I don't think he meant it could be in a worse spot. It's just interesting to think about.
In many cases, it's how you wanted it to go. You wanted to draft young players. Like you didn't want to draft Neesmith. You wanted to draft a Maxey. But then you'd be in a position where you would have had to decide on. Am I maxing out Brown with Maxey coming about 2 years later, or do I get off? Because how many teams run into that? Like, I got to get off one of these contracts if I'm going to hold off to another. And then you start to splinter in a million different directions. So the team would have looked totally different. We were just talking about it, like looking at – because Sengun put up another massive stat line. And every time I look at it, I'm like, man, like –
what if, right? Yeah.
Sengun in the All-Star voting, too. He's got a lot of fans.
Who?
Sengun.
He's a fan favorite over there in Houston.
He's like
freaking awesome.
7th or 8th
well,
in the All-Star voting on the Western Conference side.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm sure Turkey's backing them, but they're the big team in China too, Houston. So
true.
I'm sure they still have a ton of fans there.
Yeah, Jimmy, tell us about the Bruins.
Bruins was awesome, man. So I share season tickets with like 5 buddies. So I go to like 5 or 6 games a year, and we sit up in the balcony where the true fans are. But one of my buddies, who I share tickets with, won like amazing seats in like a silent auction. He didn't win them, but he like paid more than everybody else. So it's a fact that we won them. And apparently the entire row didn't have anybody sitting in the seats. So end of the first period, he's like, hey, come on down. So me and my dad went down, and we literally had, see, I'll show you guys how good these seats were. Hold on, here we go. I don't think there's a better seat in the house besides this monster in front of me. I couldn't see half the game because this guy's dome in front of me. But other than that, I mean,
hey, he might be watching right now.
That's such a hockey fan dome.
This guy could eat Pasternak. Anyways, we're like literally center ice, first row club seats. So it was a good time. The Bruins scored 7 goals. They had an empty netter, and then they scored again after the empty netter with the goalie. So
can I tell you something funny? 4 people in the chat called me an idiot for how I pronounce Sengun, and each one of them told me to pronounce it differently.
I don't know how to pronounce it either. I was just copying you.
It's Shengun.
Shengun.
It's Shengun, right? Oh, what did I say? I said Sagan, Shengun.
Look, it's Shengun, Shangun. It's like everybody's like, you idiot.
Rangoon.
But I was closer to it than you were. You made me feel insecure about it. I was like, shit, did I say it right?
I'll tell you what. It should be Sengun. That sounds a lot better than Shengun. So he should
Shengun.
I mean,
he should do us we're doing him a favor by calling him by Sengun or Sengun.
I said Schengen. I didn't say Sengun or Tyler Sagan, but everyone here is telling me it's Sean Goon.
I said Sengun.
I said Shengun.
It's not Sean Goon.
I think it's Crab Rangoon.
I watch a handful of Rockets games. That's how they say it. That's how the telecast says it. I was like, oh,
it's beef chow foon. Right. Yeah, no, I get it.
Whatever.
Everybody has a different one here, but it's Shengun.
We still don't know how to pronounce Rondo's first name. Okay,
it's Keta.
Keta.
It's not Keta. It's Keta.
It is Keta.
Well,
Keta.
I think if you pronounce it the way he pronounces
it's Bob Saget.
Someone said it's Kevin Jelly.
Kevin Jelly.
Oh, that's a deep cut. That's a deep cut.
That's a fan right there.
He was a great member.
Appreciate you.
How about Herman Gomez? That's throwing away back.
Herman Gomez is real deep cut. If anyone knows that was like mid bubble.
No, someone literally popped in the chat and said, "Play Herman Herman Gomez," as if it was 2 names. It was his last name, and they separated into a first and last name.
That's the backstory.
I love Herman Gomez. And again, it was Kevin Jelly, and then for someone put up this one, which killed me, Calvin Jelly.
Does anybody in the chat know who Hawkeye is? Does anyone know who Hot Guy is? That's what I want to know. You guys
Hot Guy or Hot Guy?
You tell me. You tell me.
Just the way you're saying it with the big smile on your face. I think everyone.
I sat there for 5 minutes wondering who the hell we were talking about.
Was that
what superhero is Hot Guy?
Was that when we were coming up with last names because of Cantor?
Coming up with superheroes that remember Grant Williams was Batman or whatever.
Yeah.
So Jimmy gets on his phone. He's just like looking it up.
John went full nerd mode and started naming each Celtic player.
You started breaking down some like Marvel characters I never even heard of. Like,
and he was like, "Pritchard's Hot Guy." I'm like,
"Hot."
Okay, he's like, "Yeah, Pritchard's totally hot guy. Like he's just totally hot guy." And I thought he was saying hot guy, but he was saying Hawkeye. Like hot
what's the point of this podcast?
What is the point of this podcast, guys? When we get to the 113 mark and drunk Jimmy's on here,
I'm not even drunk.
I know we're done. When Jimmy's got 3 buttons down, we are done with talking basketball.
The game was an hour ago.
I went to the game. We go one more. I got room for one more.
Yeah, it's not even drunk. It's like it's just high energy, man. Since last night, I love it. I'm here for it, man.
You guys saw the picture. I was drinking a Mick Ultra. There's barely any alcohol content in those.
Yeah, it's chowder.
17 bucks.
Chow dare.
John Zannis pies.
It's a Simpsons
Boys,
thing.
This is a good one. Boys Soul. This is Always Sunny in Philadelphia joke. Great joke.
Well, they're playing again Monday, John. You expect anything different?
Bobby's trying to rein it in. Bobby's trying to rein us in.
Plastic point. That's probably for the best.
Yeah.
for the best.
Are you
again,
Bobby?
I told you
if they make shots, as John's
this is Orlando
here.
part 2. I don't even think the Celtics gave them their best tonight. I think it's Orlando part 2. Assuming Porzingis is back, I think they beat him. I think they beat him again. I think they show them like we're a much better team than you. And I think that's the point of these 2 games. And I think that's what they wanted to do to Orlando. And I think that's what they're going to do here.
That'd be huge. Like I said, I wasn't expecting that going in.
Yeah, like, guys, there's 1 or 2 teams that might beat us this year. You're not one of them. Like, that's the message here.
Yeah. Totes.
Yeah. Definitely.
Facts, my dog. Did John, you apologize for completely
for everything?
Writing off the Porzingis playing tonight?
Well, didn't we all agree that was likely going to happen?
Oh, I didn't go back check the tapes. I said, well, maybe he won't.
Maybe. Okay.
Maybe.
Way to go out on a limb, Jimmy.
I was surprised by that one.
Point for me. That's how the Twitter storm. That's how the Twitter storm.
That's how it began.
Bobby tweeted that Porzingis was playing, and I said another L for John. He's down bad.
Yeah.
Then John went full rage mode.
Are you ready for a gif off?
Yeah, we had a gif off.
It wasn't a riff off. We had a gif off today.
That's how people fight in 2024. They just gif each other back and forth.
Gift.
You're not lying.
Little gift slap fight on Twitter.
Like, especially like celebrities and stuff. That's what they do.
That's what they do, man.
Oh, yeah.
You see me on the interwebs, you best come correct.
Don't at me, bro.
No, don't at me.
It was fun. I was laughing to myself in the kitchen.
I don't even know where you got the last one.
Me neither. That was gold.
After that, I was like, I didn't even respond. I was like, got me. Totally got me.
I was laughing at myself, and Laura was like, "What's your problem?" I'm like, my friend and I, Jimmy." She's like, "Who?" I was like, "Jimmy from the show. We're just giffing at each other."
She's like, "John, I'm leaving you." She's like, "I know, it's just Jimmy. It's Jimmy."
But hold on, I got a good one.
With the kids right now.
It's a guy with toilet paper. Hold on.
No, they hate that though. Their significant others, they hate that. Like if you're cracking up and they didn't put that smile on your face, like what is so funny? Why are you so happy right now?
Yeah, you're so annoying.
Yeah, I was like, I'm loving this.
Who's the person who uploads GIFs, especially like that one? Like, it's like, yeah, somebody will use this. It's like a midget running with toilet paper.
Yeah, everyone's like, poor Bobby's like, I don't want to be on this show
anymore. The show where Bobby's like,
No, I'm good. It's
career choices.
It's Jimmy. It's when we're at the Garden at midnight, and you're like, "Let's keep it going." Come on.
Let's just talk about nougat. Well, you mean yeah. Let's talk about nougat real quick for 20 minutes.
Another hour on the Patriots.
I think we mentioned every single candy that includes nougat that's ever been distributed.
Oh my God! Last night,
at least in the U.S.
I wasn't happy last night, Jimmy, when you were like, "It's only 11 o'clock."
That was kind of awesome, though.
It was awesome, yeah.
Typically, it'd be like midnight.
It was, but and we didn't go too late, so it worked out.
I'm 50% in on going to the Pats.
It was the candy conversation where Bobby's like, "Boop."
See how quickly
you mentioned one or two that you like, and that was it. You were done.
It's so funny when Bobby's like the obvious adult in the room. He's like, these fucking kids.
I was like, well, here's another reel I can't use.
Get out of here once and for all. Escape these buffoons.
Oh, this one's gonna come back to haunt me. Yeah.
I can't use this for the
candy one was tough. The candy one was tough.
The candy one was tough.
No, when I'm here, I'll sit here all night.
Yeah. All right, Jimmy. Anything else you wanna?
No, I mean, listen.
You going to the Pats? You said.
Usually, I pour over the footage before I jump on these shows, but I didn't get to see this game tonight, so I don't have a lot to add.
I think you would have liked it, Jimmy. It was good stuff.
Yeah, I checked the box scores, but that was about it.
You can get them Monday. Right. You're back Monday, right?
Yeah, Pats tomorrow. No,
two Pats predictions. Go. 2 Pats predictions. Do they win tomorrow? And is Bill the coach on Tuesday?
I think they win tomorrow because the Jets are that bad. I think the Pats.
I'll go yes and no.
I think it's
who's
yes
quarterback?
Yes. I don't think the Pats do Bill on Black Monday. I don't think it happens that way on Black Monday. He deserves it. He deserves a little bit more than the Black Monday treatment. I think like the whiff coaches, the ones who are, no names and who really deserve, like if the Bills lose tomorrow, I think that dude probably gets Black Monday'd. Their head coach. Who won tonight? Did the Pittsburgh Steelers win or did the Ravens win?
The Steelers won.
Oh, okay. So I think the Bills have to win tomorrow, right? Or they miss the playoffs. Oh, if the Jaguars win and the Bills lose, I think the Bills miss the playoffs.
The Bills it's a real game.
Yeah. So I think if the Bills lose, McDermott gets Black Monday'd. I don't think Bill gets Black Monday'd, but I still don't think he's. I don't think he's the head coach. I don't think he's the head coach next year. I don't.
If they haven't had a discussion about what they're doing with him, it's going to take some time because they're not just going to fire him with what's their year plus left on the deal. Yeah, they're either going to trade him or they're going to figure out some agreement to part, which will take time.
I don't think so. I don't even think he shows up to the meeting. I wouldn't be stunned.
I like that take.
I honestly wouldn't be stunned if Bill's like.
You think he just resigned?
Oh, yeah. It's the classic, I'm not fired, I quit.
But why? But let me ask you this: why would he resign? Unless
I'll tell you this, I don't think.
No, I mean, like if he sees the writing on the wall, of course not.
I don't think he wants to sit in there and listen to Kraft ask him about what's wrong. Like, I don't think he wants to explain himself.
Yeah,
I think he's like, I do what I do, and F you,
and
that's it.
Exactly.
Like, I don't need to talk to you. I don't need to talk to you to convince you I'm the guy for the job. I either am or I'm not. Like, I don't think he wants to go through the steps here.
It's not Robert, it's Jonathan. He won't sit there if Jonathan.
Oh God, no! But I don't think he wants to sit with Robert either.
Is there any chance he's back?
I think they have obviously they have a relationship.
Is there any chance he's back?
Yeah, of course there's a chance.
I think there is.
There's a chance.
I think Kraft is not 1,000%. I think like Jonathan's been like whispering in his ear for 6 years, like get rid of this mother. It
sucks because
even when Brady was still around, he was saying that. Yeah,
we know Bill can coach. Still, it's just
that might be in his book, man.
It's just he's almost like too much of an asshole for some of these players now, and like
he's the greatest Patriots book ever.
His talent evaluation has
breaks it all in his books.
Has been complete whiff to the point where they are now.
And they're about to pick top 5, Jimmy. You can't do it.
I know.
Can I play devil's advocate on one thing? I don't know if I'm just going to put it out there. Okay.
Put it out there.
Here's the only place I'm conflicted in. I think because I lean strongly towards I think he's got to go because I don't think he can change, and I think some things have passed him by, and I don't know that he can get him back. However, when you think about it, overall, like philosophically, not much has changed. He's just picked the wrong guys, right? Like
the wrong coaches, wrong players.
Right, wrong coaches because he wants guys around him. But like, if instead of Harry it's Deebo Samuel, if instead of Thornton it's Pickens, if Cole Strange ended up being Logan Mankins again, if Henry and Jonnu ended up being ended up being Gronk and Hernandez, like he still did a lot of the things he'd done before. He just had a string of wrong. The question is, does he no longer understand what makes a good? He's also largely ignored offense. He's hit on offensive linemen in free agency in the middle of drafts all the time. Like he's used to that. Tooney and Mason and Onwenu and all of these guys. So he's kind of going through the same formula. It's just he's been wrong so much over this short span of time, particularly on the offensive side, and then obviously just disrespecting the quarterback position and having being the biggest issue of all. Like I can win in other ways. I mean, if nobody gets hurt on defense and they even have a semi-competent offense, they probably win 8 and 9 games, and like, then you're having a different conversation.
An average offense.
But I'm saying, I think Kraft can talk himself into thinking that too. Like it might not be as bad as it looks.
Well, the biggest problem is you don't have an
Bobby,
replacement.
The last thing I'll say, Bobby, you spent a ton of time on the last year of Brad making this point. What are you going to do that's better? In the Bill case, I actually think it matters only because no one wants to follow Bill Belichick in New England. I don't care if you're the second greatest coach in history. You don't want to follow this act. And you also don't want to come to a place that has nothing to build on. And right now, because you don't have a bunch of ascending talent and your quarterback in place. If they land a top 2 pick, the equation changes a little bit. The idea of coming in and grooming one of the top 2, passers, but like, it's not that attractive a job based on what they have here, and no one wants to follow Bill. So the replacement probably is going to be worse, and that's a concern as well. And I'm sure Kraft has to factor that in. But
the replacement's going to be worse from a coaching standpoint, of course.
Yeah.
My concern also
is the personnel.
Yeah, the personnel, the front office, ownership's going to. I mean, I don't even know what Robert Kraft. I don't know who's calling the shots anymore. Is it Robert? Is it Jonathan? These are the questions that I have. And I mean, Robert's getting up there in age. I mean, at some point, you got to hand the keys over. As far as it goes with Bill, somebody in the comments said it. Yeah, Bill has always been a defensive-minded coach. We know that. He was saved on offense because of Tom Brady. Tom Brady has always been the offense. And people are finally realizing that. It took some people a lot longer than others, I guess, to realize that. But once Brady left, the offense left. It's really that simple. And yeah, Bill's eye for offensive talent recently has sucked. I mean, you can go back to, he let Jacoby Myers go, and he signed Smith-Schuster for the same amount of money. Smith-Schuster can't even tie his cleats. He can't get on the field.
Yeah, but remember years ago how many times that used to happen? Like he would let guys go, and then he would find a replacement out of nowhere, like some undrafted guy or whatever.
But he had Tom Brady throwing on the ball, Josue.
Exactly.
You can sign me and you, and we could just play like third down back and slot receiver, and like we'll end up with 60 yards, like no problem.
To me, that's the difference.
They got rid of that third down back. They don't have a third down back anymore, which they
lived on.
They lived on a third down back for like 18 years, up until literally the last Super Bowl that they won. They were third down back heavy. They were always throwing in the flat. They're always checking. They're always just outsmarting the defense. Now they don't have that quarterback who can do that. And it's not even a Tom Brady thing. It's around the NFL that smart quarterbacks. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's lack of practice, lack of preparation, but all these quarterbacks from Josh Allen down to whoever, they're relying solely on athleticism, really, their arm strength. And if, the first look fails, I'm going to just start running and I'm just going to, try not to make a massive mistake. They're not smart at the line. They're not audibling the right way or out of, what they find on defense.
Offensive lines are pretty bad too.
Offensive line of the Patriots sucked, obviously. There's so many issues. John, yeah, you're right. But you got to start somewhere.
I think he has to go.
You can't keep kicking the can.
Yeah, I think he has to go, but I also think it's not as slam dunky easy as it seems. I think
it is, but it is.
I think there's things to consider. Yeah,
it's scary that you have to nail the quarterback thing here. Find the new coach. Find a new GM.
If they get the second pick, who do you want? I mean, do you want
no one knows?
Do you want the wideout? I kind of want the wideout.
I want to go either safety or interior offensive line.
You're in a tough spot when you don't know.
Belichick is still on the team.
You're in a tough spot when you don't know where you're going to go.
And I think you got to get another kicker. You might have to use a third this time to make sure you get it right.
They definitely
I told you, John, they'd regret moving folk.
There it is.
You were right, Bobby.
You were right.
You nailed it.
There it is.
He was awesome.
You nailed that one.
That was the reason they fell apart this year.
Things would have been different for sure.
Yeah.
It wasn't an unnecessary trade and pick for sure.
Texans take the lead in a tanking universe. That is a good result for the Patriots. Just letting you guys know.
Right.
Just reminding everyone.
How bad can it get? Like they could win tomorrow and they could be as bad as 7th, maybe.
They can't drop lower than 5th.
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
But they can still get the 2nd if a couple things break their way and they lose. They have to lose.
It would have been cool if they got to 1, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
that was going to be
2.
tough.
I'll definitely take 2 though.
Yeah, we'll take 2.
Who they take?
Anyway,
I don't know.
They can still get up to 2.
We're gonna wrap it, guys.
We're gonna wrap it.
Yeah.
Just getting started.
We're done.
You and Josue, you guys gotta be on time on Monday.
Monday.
You didn't expect us to be here.
And the Steelers doesn't. Yeah, the Steelers was a Patriots opponent. Them winning wasn't great. Would have been better. If the Ravens had won there, but that would have been better for the Patriots. So that one hurt them.
Did you say Pats win or lose tomorrow, John?
I think they win.
I think they win too.
Yeah.
The Jets are just that bad, and the Pats at home.
I
think it honestly, and this is why I want to go to the game. I think it might actually be a fun game to go to in the snow. I'm going to wake up tomorrow and make the decision. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. The tickets are literally $15.
What a surprise! Kess wants to fire the coach.
Hey, he was right last time.
Yeah,
It's the coach.
Except Bill won't be.
He will not be GM.
GM, he already is GM.
Yeah. All right, we're done, guys. We'll see you Monday, and the whole world could be different then. We'll see.
Yeah.
What, you guys want to keep going?
Show.
No, I'm not. I'm doing a Kess impression.
It's going to be.
Come on. Come on, Bobby.
The day one fan right there. Appreciate you, Ken.
Back to the locker room days. Locker room doesn't exist anymore. It's so damn bad. It's too bad.
Yeah, it is. It is.
They got bought out, and then like whoever bought them out just tanked it.
It was Spotify.
I was gonna say, didn't Spotify do it?
Spotify did it.
Yeah, it became Green Room.
Green Room. Is Green Room still a thing?
It is, but it got taken. It got weird.
That's what I mean. It got tanked.
Nobody does it.
They tanked it.
Hey, we got spaces, baby.
We do. Locker room was special. I do miss those days. That was a
know,
ton of fun.
Me too.
I remember being just like, I wasn't allowed to leave my room because of COVID. I'd just be like laying on the couch staring at the ceiling, being on locker room.
We did 90 minutes here, and then we'd be like, all right, join us for the next 2 hours.
I know.
Then like Perk jumped on with us. It was just like,
there would be like 200 people. There'd be like 200 people in there. It was like, it was a party. It was fun.
Yeah.
People would put them on. Hey, what's up?
And we will say this: if you're still here, like, subscribe, all that stuff. We never beg for that stuff, but it really is beneficial. So yes, like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. More the merrier. Join the chat, hang out throughout the season, potentially historic season, and we'll keep riding it. We're back Monday. We do have to wrap it. Thank you. Special thanks to guest appearances, guest stars, Josue Pavon and Jimmy Toscano.
Bro, you guys make graphics, I swear.
Yeah. Hold on.
You guys only get half paid in it.
This is not
Josue and Jimmy making guest appearances on their own
John,
show.
any final thoughts? Any final thoughts you want to say?
I'm sorry I let you in the room. Yeah.
Apology accepted. You know, apology accepted.
See y'all.